person who shuts that part of themselves off, who doesn't want to open the third eye. Because opening up spiritually doesn't always mean you're going to feel balanced, harmonious, and beautiful. That happens with time.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I'm with the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Monika, the spiritual life coach and mystic. Welcome to the show, Monika. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm super excited to have you because I'm really curious about your journey, about your whole spiritual development. Where did it start and how did you get to do what you're doing? Now you're a spiritual life coach and mystic. I would love you to talk about how did you get to this point and also what does mystic and mysticism mean to you?
It's just probably one of those terms that we use for someone who's exploring the occult, the hidden mysteries of any spiritual practices. We both come from Poland, so you probably both we grew up in a very dogmatic Christian country, right? I was
Yes.
always curious to learn a bit more, to understand rather than follow. Therefore, I developed a lot of passion to learn about mysticism, spirituality. Um, and it was just, I think, natural curiosity that I wanted to grow spiritually. Yeah, but it was pretty difficult. I think what led me towards it was like a horrible, horrible um, dark night of the soul when I was like 18 years old. And my whole reality shattered. I thought I have to compare myself to my peers, follow everything that everyone wants me to do, to go to university, to find a job after finishing uni. And I just wanted to travel the world, explore, find my true path, find out who I really was. And I met extreme resistance towards that liberation. Um, and I thought that I was helpless in the beginning. I didn't have money to support myself. I didn't have money to move out, and I got stuck in that place of feeling, what am I gonna do with myself? And the only place was to go within. And waking up from the illusion that I grew up in was quite painful. But it wasn't the only time that it happened. I think those kind of dark nights of the soul happen for a reason, and they help us grow and evolve. And coming from that, I obviously encountered a lot of my inner darkness, demons, straight away, um, which were culturally ingrained in me that I, on some level, knew I wanted to grow out of and find my own true path. Um, Mysticism allowed me to protect my energy, to feel much more calmer, stable, high vibrational throughout the day. Um, Although I also appreciate the low vibrational medicine, such as plant medicine, which brings us down into the descent, into feminine, into confronting the darkness and pain, um, the taboo subjects, the things that we don't want to acknowledge about ourselves, the harsh truth, the harsh reality of things, because not everything is light and love.
Yes, absolutely. And was there any specific moment that you were feeling like awake or you were feeling like, oh my God, or like that you need to change your life? Or did anything click for you? Or was it just like a kind of more long term exploration from your side of all these like other views and perspectives on spirituality?
Straight away, I wanted to change my life at a young age, but I don't think I had the power to do so. I was still um, codependent as a teenager. So it was quite hard to make those kind of decisions, but I did want to aim towards becoming a professional spiritual person, not just playing around, and knowing the subject really well, not just to make money or be famous, but mostly for myself. Um, Eventually, I did gain that independence, freedom, but I'm not gonna lie, I've got lost on that path so many times, following the wrong direction, doing way less than sacred, being in very dark places, confronting the underworld, the perversion, disharmony, chaos, destruction. Um, and through those experiences, I realized how hard we can get stuck in our negative cycles. How difficult, although from the outside perspective, it might seem like just make that decision. How difficult sometimes it is to get rid of things like addictions, demonic attachments, how ridiculed we get for even talking about astral entities by normal people, and how hard it can be to explain some things that we do as spiritual practitioners to just a common person who shuts that part of themselves off, who doesn't want to open the third eye. Because opening up spiritually doesn't always mean you're going to feel balanced, harmonious, and beautiful. That happens with time. But you might open yourself up also to the darkness, to things that you didn't want to look before. Um, and it's easier to be just
Yes,
ignorant, I think.
I know, I
It feels
know.
better
And
to
so, have
be.
you had experiences yourself, or have you helped someone who had like a demonic entity attached to them?
At this time, I'm just 28. I'm not experienced with working with those things. I'm encountering them. I know so how to protect myself. I know that very often they get attached because they reflect some sort of shadow part
Mm-hmm.
of us that we have, that attracted them in the first place. So it's not like they don't serve any purpose at all. They're there for a reason. Darkness always balances light, and if there's something resonant within us,
Mm-hmm.
they get drawn to it. So it's a never-ending work of purification
Yeah,
through
I
the
was just
process.
curious
Yeah.
about your perspective because the other day I was watching Aubrey Marcus and Matthias De Stefano podcast, and they were talking about these kind of entities. And Matthias De Stefano is this guy who knows the truth about part of the truth, as he said, about different dimensions, and he compared the demonic entities to like dogs. He's like, if a dog does something, it's not like you're gonna say, "Oh, bad dog" or whatever. It's like this is just dog being dog. Like it doesn't know that it's harming something or doing something wrong, and these entities are just there, and they are doing what they're doing, what they're in a way I would call it quote unquote instinct is, which is attaching to a like energy, right? And then just kind of like being there and messing up a bit in someone's head. But it's not bad. And as you said, it serves the purpose because if someone has this kind of entity, that means that they need to change something in their life to not attract these kind of entities anymore. And so it's like everything else, like every experience can be a blessing if we make it a blessing, because then we can really look into, okay, so what are my thoughts, what are my feelings, and how can I change them so that I'm no longer a vibrational match to these kind of beings, because I believe that you don't have to, and you can change your energy in a way that you're not anymore. So yeah, and you were saying about like looking into the darkness, and I know that you were talking a little bit about toxic positivity, and I would really love to touch upon this topic, because I think it's very important to talk about it, because I remember when I was just at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I was also in this space of toxic positivity, I think. So I would like you to tell us about this, like what is it, and also like how to not be toxic in your positivity. these beings can be actually an indication for us that we need to, make some shifts in our perspectives and our thoughts and our emotions. So it's not actually inherently bad. If we don't make it bad, it
Yeah.
could be actually a beautiful lesson for us, a blessing in disguise, as we call it sometimes. And you also mentioned something about going to the into the darkness, and I know that you were talking a little bit about the topic of toxic positivity, and I would love to talk about it, because I feel like especially at the beginning of our spiritual journey, it's a very common pattern that we go into, to be so positive, because we finally are like, wow, we're creating our own life. Let's just be positive and think all the
Yeah.
good thoughts. And but that can be toxic. So I would love you to talk about this, like what is toxic positivity, and also how to get out of this mindset.
Yeah. That spiritual positivity is such a good sales point, isn't it? Like, look at me, I'm always blessed, I'm never suffering. If you buy my product, you'll feel happy for the rest of your life.
Oh, yes.
So it kind of looks like a marketing tactic in a way. If we see that online. But I think we're also ashamed to show our darkness. We don't want to be seen as vulnerable. So we portray that image. Oh, my life is perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm really strong. I'm really resilient. I'm not a human. I don't go through all this stuff. I'm better than everyone else. I can judge everyone who's suffering or doing wrong because I'm love and light. I'm perfect, you know. um to some extent, but I also agree that a person who's well balanced should stay away from toxic people. So there is some truth to that, you know. um we should avoid being in too many toxic relationships to protect our light, to protect ourselves and our energy. But what also toxic light, love and light does is pulls us away from shadow work and stops us from changing our life. Because if everything's perfect, why would I change anything in my life? Like you said, right? Um, Everything's just wonderful. I don't care that I'm buying clothes made by child labor somewhere in Indonesia. It doesn't matter. It's cheap. It's all right. Whilst a person who is conscious and open will walk into a shop and try to purchase products. I know that's very materialistic, but that's like a visual example. And they'll see, like, I don't want to buy poisonous food. I don't want to mass produced food. Um, um, and they make a conscious decision as a consumer as well, right? Um, Whilst the person who's ignorant, happy, they will be happy about not knowing what what's behind what's a deeper meaning of every single action they take. So I think that there are many other examples that I can give about how toxic positivity makes us blind. We might just think, oh, I don't want to talk to that person because they're too negative, while actually creating separation and disconnection and not resolving the conflict because we're afraid of confronting the darkness.
Yeah, and I can really relate to
Whilst
it,
true
because
love
so
and
many
light
people
is
do
like
that.
unity, connection.
Yeah. I really can relate to it. And I feel like Teal Swan has one of these videos about spirituality 2.0 and 3.0 and 1.0 as well. And she talks about how 1.0 is when you discover, oh, I'm a creator of my own life. I can be so positive and everything is amazing. And oh, there's a spirit behind this world and everything, right? And then you're like, oh, I actually am also darkness. And then 2.0 is when you go to these, yeah, you do shadow work, you go to these dark places of your psyche where you maybe do not feel so positive, do not feel so, love and light all the time. But also then you are maybe choosing the in 3.0, you're choosing still the positive stuff because you still might prefer to live in this like high vibration state, but it doesn't come from resistance anymore. It doesn't come from escaping from the darkness as 1.0. because then you're not afraid to feel it all. You're not afraid to go into the shadow if you need to. And if the shadow comes, you don't actually like have a problem with it, because then you've done so much shadow work, you've already been there. Then you're just like, okay, I'm gonna step into it. This emotion is actually okay for me, and I know that it's there for me to heal me. And then you're still like preferring and thinking positive thoughts and being in everyday life quite uplifted, right? But then when anything comes to you, you're like okay with it. And I feel like for me and for my clients, what I always recommend is to be in this top down approach. Top down meaning like you're really raising your vibration and doing everything in your life that sets you up for positivity, right? So you meet positive people, you are in positive situations, you work in a job you love, and all these things. But also, if the trigger happens, you use the bottom up approach. So through the trigger, through the darkness to the light. And so I feel like, for me at least, because I've done shadow work quite a lot for the last few years, and now I feel like the triggers only come from time to time, and most of the time I'm just in a really loving and uplifted vibe. But then if anything comes, I'm just really taking my space to go as deeply as I can into this negative feeling, and then fast forward 2 hours, I'm feeling good again because I just do shadow work straight away, and then I'm feeling okay. And I feel like, yeah, it's something that people might struggle with, to discern like when to be there, because I know that some people are even addicted to shadow work as well. So I feel like you need to be really careful not to use anything as a coping mechanism, whether it is a shadow work process or whatever work you do, or whether it is positivity, because everything is like we need to maintain this dance between both of the approaches. And first of all, not resist any of them. Because I feel like if we start resisting any of these let's say polarities, then the problem arises. But other than that, if we can just accept everything as it is, feel like from this lack of resistance we can be really living quite a bliss. I believe. So yeah, would you agree with this kind of like discernment? I mean, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, is this how you see it as well?
Yeah, I definitely watched that video so long ago. I think at the time I watched it, I don't know where I was. I was definitely lost. I'm, I'm very vulnerable and honest usually about those things. And I was thinking, like, trying to dissect that video. I've knew a little bit about non-duality and being depolarized. Um, Definitely, I think 3.0 is all about non-duality, not be getting triggered, treating love and darkness equally, and not depending on outside circumstances, being balanced whatever happens. I still haven't achieved that myself, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm just a human being. um I really appreciate people who are great role models, who are always fully integrated selves, who carry themselves with so much power and confidence. um and that's the state I really want to aim towards. um it's beautiful, it's amazing. I have those glimpses. Sometimes I have glimpses when I feel depolarized for maybe few days, few weeks, but I
Hmm.
think there's always more work to do. um yeah, I'm brutally honest
Yeah,
about it. I'm
that's true.
not I'm sorry, I need to be closer because I think it was very quiet. um yeah, this is hard work that we need to take on it, but it's a soul work, something that helps us evolve on the highest possible level instead of just repeating cycles and doing the same thing all over again.
Hmm. Yeah, although, I don't actually see it as hard work, because I am personally so just up for doing the shadow work and up for resolving the childhood traumas and everything, that for me it doesn't leave the shadow work and all the work that I do as something so rewarding, that I don't really see it as hard work. Because if I know what kind of benefit it will bring me, the more I do it, I'm actually getting excited about being able to do it more, because then I know like how big the improvement in my life can be once I go through this trauma, once I resolve this issue, once I stop resisting a specific emotion. So to me, it actually doesn't seem like hard work anymore. It's just about getting familiar with these processes and these things that can help us discover our shadows. And I feel like, yeah, for me, it seems quite easy right now after years of practicing it. Maybe, I mean, maybe not easy, maybe just simple, and I'm just up for it, you know. But I understand that for some people it can be quite a challenge because there might be different traumas, maybe even deeper than mine, that could show up. But I still believe that if we can hold this vision of a reward that we're getting after resolving some subconscious issues, right? Then we can really approach it with the mindset like, yeah, I'm up for it. Like, even though it might not be the most pleasant experience in my life, going through the shadow, I'm still up for it because I know how amazing I'm going to feel afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it can be like an addiction to the constant fluctuation. Sometimes it happens to be like that, whilst we should be a bit calmer and balanced, because the pendulum swings. If you want to feel extreme happiness, you're going to have to deal with really, really low
Yeah,
darkness as well.
absolutely. And we need this. We need this to appreciate the positivity as well. Because if we didn't have any dark moments in our life, we wouldn't be so appreciative of all the beautiful moments in our life. I believe, at least. Anyway, this is always how I explain my period pain. I'm like, okay, the universe is giving me this pain so that when it's gone, I can so appreciate that I'm not in pain anymore. Although, yeah, now it's quite light anyway in
Hmm.
comparison to before my spiritual development. But still,
Hmm.
I just treat it as a little kind of like, yeah, reminder of how awesome my life is without pain. But I would love to also talk about vulnerability with you, because you said before, like, yeah, I'm vulnerable here, I'm open with my self-expression, but I feel like so many people struggle with vulnerability. So for these people, what would you say? What would your advice be, or maybe three top tips how to open up and be more vulnerable in their lives? Because I feel like without it, we really cannot also be authentic to ourselves, and we might create not the life that we want if we are not vulnerable. But people struggle with it. So, what would you say to these people?
Definitely don't force yourself to be vulnerable with strangers, because then you might regret sharing your personal information. um, Definitely, secondly, to share with people that you trust and you're comfortable and knowing that they will understand and they will take it the right way, perhaps with a therapist or a practitioner that can guide you through the process, so you can do it the best way possible. And just giving yourself space and slowly unraveling. Sometimes slowing down can be the best medicine whilst going through those things. Whilst if you are trying to rush healing, it can become very anxious process.
So I know that what I've heard you say that you shouldn't rush the healing. And I so much agree with that you shouldn't rush anything, because we heal in stages, and sometimes we need to open up to our closest people in order to then be open to a therapist or to a coach in order to then be open to other people. So yeah, I totally agree with you that you need to take it slow and in your own pace, because if you're shy, or if you're, scared of expressing your true self, then it certainly wouldn't serve you to just go and talk to a random person and just try to open up straight away to them. Like, we always heal in stages, and maybe sometimes you can open up a tiny little bit, and you can just talk to people who really feel safe to you and who you can really trust. And then once you get there, the confirmation, like, okay, it is safe to be me, and I can share my voice however I choose to, then you can go further and expand, as you said before. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important though to be vulnerable, because I feel like this, you know, this theme is like so underestimated. I mean, like, all these beliefs that men don't cry and good girls don't get angry, all these things, right? They made us feel so suppressed and
Hmm.
so just not vulnerable with how we really feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then it can create so many problems, because then we can get into the relationships that we are not actually resonating with. We can get into the, places and conditions of our life that are not actually what we truly want, because if we cannot vulnerably share how we feel really, then like we cannot really let other people know, and even ourselves sometimes know what we really want and what we really need. So we might attract things in our life that are actually not the reflection of our true authentic desire and true authentic self. So I just think it's really important to talk about vulnerability. But I would love to change the topic now,
Yeah.
because I know that you're actually helping online creators, and you're helping with them with emotions, but also to achieve abundance in life. And so I was curious to know, who are online creators? Like, for example, could you give us some examples of people that you're working with, like,
Mm-hmm.
and how you help them? Like, what do you do? What methods you're using to help them move through their shadows, I guess, and to achieve greater levels of abundance.
So definitely, I've worked with some people that have done sessions in real life. They wanted to switch to social media during COVID and stuff. A lot of people shifted their practice online during those times. So there was like a big boom of coaches on social media, which is now overflowing completely. um, I do help them how to create their own courses, how to price their products, how to ask for the money without feeling guilty. Because I know a lot of times, especially spiritual workers, we don't get appreciated, we don't get creditations, we don't, by the normal, real people, our service is not real. So it's hard to ask for that kind of work. And a lot of people who do spiritual work, they don't have an abundant life because of that.
Hmm.
And I want to empower those people to show up more, to be more confident in the product. And because I feel like if someone who does a spiritual practice is stuck in a 9 to 5, 5 days a week, of course, as an empath, they're going to be depleted. The energy is not going to benefit anyone, and they will be out of alignment. So, creating that abundance and support, not for selfish, greedy reasons, but to create a healing space for the clients and be a pillar of light for everyone else is
Mm,
important.
absolutely. And so, what methods are you using to help people get there?
Um, I have a full course like teaching from A to Z, basically how to set up your business on social media, how to show up on camera and stuff. Throughout the course, I also, if someone books like for example, a package with me, they might get coaching calls where we will dive deeper into what's the underlying root cause or subconscious block that's blocking them from succeeding in certain areas. Like we can pull out some pretty serious stuff, some unconscious destructive patterns that might be, I'm sorry, your camera is off again and your microphone is off. Some really destructive unconscious patterns that might be sabotaging our life, and how to become more conscious and more aware of our actions to take conscious decisions in our business, in our life. Yep.
Yeah, this is amazing that you help people like discover their subconscious patterns, because this is really where everything resides, right? In the subconscious mind. And every time we don't reach the goal that we want to reach, is because we have some kind of block or resistance subconsciously to this desire that we have. So I feel like just going deep into the beliefs and the emotions of what is there, can really help us unlock such a high potential in our lives. And so I also work with subconscious mind, with the emotions and beliefs, and I feel like this is the work that gets us the deepest and the most effective
Mm-hmm.
results, because we can consciously say affirmations every single day for like 3 weeks or a month or whatever. Yes, and it probably will shift our energy because it will help us move through some stuff, but also we might create some more resistance in our body saying that, because then our conscious mind is like, I don't have the $1 million in my wallet, like what are you saying? And then we can actually like create more resistance to
Yeah.
ourselves. But if we have all these methods that go straight into the subconscious and help us reprogram it there quite effectively, then we don't need to do anything like repeating affirmations. Or if we do repeat affirmations, then we can frame it in a way that our subconscious and conscious mind don't resist it. Like, for example, I choose this rather than I have this, because then there is no resistance, because it's true that we choose it, right? But yeah, it's really, really important to work on the subconscious. And so if someone would love to find you and maybe go through your course, what is the best way to contact you?
I usually find a lot of friends and interesting spiritual workers on Instagram through my Money Sacred Instagram. And yeah, you're welcome to go there. I'm working on my counseling study to be a counselor in the community. I'm a kindergarten teacher in the community, so besides working online, I'm pretty much involved in a social life as well. Um, which I really love. I think technology can be really icky sometimes.
Oh, I know. It can be a lot. Amazing. Thank you so much for your beautiful energy, your wisdom, and thank you to all the people who are listening to us right now. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, I am The Connection Catalyst. And yeah, thanks for tuning in and stay tuned to the next episode.